right, we are about 30 minutes away until the polls close in Illinois. It could be a huge night. 69 delegates in the state, 54 at stake to be allocated tonight. It's one of the biggest delegate grabs of the year. John King with us, John Avalon, and Romney advisor Kevin Madden joins us now as well. What about the delegate math, though, from the man who knows this better than anyone in America, John King? Tell us what you see, the delegate math.
That's a setup line, if ever. And then you have those other two guys beat me up. I know how this works. Okay, look, let's just look at it. I read Mr. Avalon today saying Romney is not inevitable, and he is correct. The problem is it gets very improbable when you try to find who's going to stop Governor Romney. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, he wins the state of Illinois tonight and gets most of the delegates. I want to take away. I just gave Senator Santorum Louisiana. This is where we would be. If Romney wins Illinois, Santorum wins Louisiana, it will be somewhere in this ballpark, okay? 573 for Romney. Consider this a ballpark number. Santorum, not even half that. You got to get to 1144. Let's, for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to fast forward to the end of the process, Erin, okay? Now I'm going to go back in and play with some of these states. Let's just say, for example, well, the Santorum people say, no, we can play here. The Santorum people say we can play in Indiana. That would come up there. These would be key contests. West Virginia, I'm going to give it to Santorum. North Carolina, I'm going to give it, for the sake of this hypothetical, to Santorum. Okay, we've done all that. What does it get you? It still has Romney clinching. So where else? If you look at the map, where else? Santorum, under this scenario, being generous. You give him Louisiana. You give him Texas. I've just given him Wisconsin, Indiana, North Carolina. Where else? What has to happen for Senator Santorum is, under this scenario, see that check mark? Romney would clinch by the finish line. It would be a long slog. How does Senator Santorum stop him? Well, he'd have to win all of these states. We haven't had a Gingrich conversation yet. We can have that in a minute. Then he would have to take away one of the big winner-takes-all, like New Jersey or like California, or both, preferably. Then you get this. But if we look at the math right now, Erin, Governor Romney is winning a majority of the delegates. He only needs 49% from here to the finish line. Senator Santorum's winning about 20% up to today. He needs about 70%. So you can run that by the math experts. You guys tell me, who changes the map and how?
All right, John Avalon, who changes the map and how?
I mean, I think the thing to remember right now is that it's not about what candidate can beat Mitt Romney. It's about whether the other candidates can block Mitt Romney from getting 1144. That's the larger game. The reason this year is different than all others before is because the RNC changed the rules for proportional delegates. The presence of super PACs, the lack of money that would normally kick other candidates out. Right now, they've got enough money. They can go on. They can go on and play a long game looking to this convention. So that's the real question.
So block from winning, and then in the convention you have
right.
A contested situation.
It's not about who's ahead in the delegates. That's the wrong metric. It's about whether anyone hits 1144.
Kevin Madden, are you confident that Mitt Romney can get there all the way to 1144 before the convention to avoid an incident?
Very much so. I mean, look, I disagree with John. I don't think this is about blocking anybody. I think voters are looking to support who they think should be the best nominee who can beat Barack Obama in the general election. And I think when Governor Romney goes out there and makes that case to voters, he continues to gain more and more support as we go through this contest. So, you know, I think that a lot of these scenarios that the two other campaigns are looking at are fantasy scenarios. Their path continues to get more narrow and more narrow as we go through these contests. Voters continue to look behind Governor Romney. And I think as we've seen throughout each contest, a lot of voters now are starting to begin to coalesce around Governor Romney. They very much want to see this process come to an end, or at least they're starting to see this process come to an end. And they do want to turn their attention to our common opponent as Republicans, which is President Obama, beating him in November.
And obviously tonight's going to be a very big night to see what sort of a margin of victory Mitt Romney can get if indeed he gets the win. I know there was a conference call today, John King, though, Rick Santorum's team trying to fight back, come up with, well, here's a way we can get to 1144 before the convention. You've looked at the numbers. Did that call make sense? What are the chances that they could achieve that?
Well, they're not only, Erin, let me switch this scenario for you and show you. I'm going to show you a Santorum strength scenario and get you all the way to the end here, come back to today, and then go to the end. This still has Romney winning, even if Santorum wins almost everywhere. But again, if you take this away and give it to Santorum, I can block Romney. I can give you a reasonable, if Santorum suddenly starts winning everywhere, he just gambled him and he lost. It looks like he's not going to do it in Illinois. At some point for the Santorum scenario to work, they have to start beating Governor Romney in places where he's favored, and not just beating him 52 to 48. They need to beat him hugely to get the delegates in the proportional states. They're also counting on states to go back, in Arizona, for example, in Florida, to rewrite the rules for the convention to allow them more delegates. They're expecting to pick up, change the math later. You know, essentially, under their scenario, my Red Sox won the World Series last year. My Red Sox didn't even make the playoffs. You can't, they want, there's too too many ifs, ands, and buts. Is it conceivable they can block Governor Romney? Yes, very hard. To get Santorum to 1144, they're asking a handful of states to change the rules. Then they're going to go in and do better than they did on Election Day in some of these state and county conventions. Sure, but it's never been done before. If I were a campaign advisor, and I'm not, I would focus on blocking Governor Romney, not trying to get to 1144. That is conceivable. Still a long stretch, but conceivable.
Even the Romney camp acknowledges now it's looking like June. And the big question for them, the challenge is, can they start really unifying the party behind him? Because to date, still 60% of Republicans have voted for somebody else. And for a candidate with such a huge organizational and money advantage, that's a real weakness.
All right, thanks very much to all three of you. We appreciate it. And results from today's Illinois primary are